I met him for half an hour. It was a Tuesday in February, slush piled in gray ridges on the sidewalks, the kind of night where your socks get wet even if you step carefully. I took a rideshare home from a coworker's birthday. The driver was quiet. He had that kind of silence that makes you talk more than you mean to, so I filled it with small observations. Busy season at the office. My landlord never fixes the heat on time. The bakery near my place sells good food. When we reached my building, he thanked me for the conversation. I reciprocated the compliment, got out of the car, and waved goodbye. We both smiled at each other in passing like we were old friends. 2 days later, I got a DM from an account with no posts. Nice blue coat. Did you make it home okay the other night? I ignored it. The account name was a first name and 4 numbers. I assumed it was a spam thing and moved on. That weekend, I went to the bakery. After I ordered, the cashier told me my food was already paid for by someone who ordered before me. She gestured at a guy by the window in a navy cap. He lifted his cup toward me like a toast. I didn't recognize him. I nodded and left with the bag tucked close to my chest. Back home, there was an envelope tucked in the doorframe. No stamp. On the front, my name and the apartment number. Inside, a single photo of the building from across the street. No note. My city is a big one, and I tried to push down my worries by dismissing it, chalking it up to teenagers playing a prank. That night, at 11, my phone rang. Unknown caller. I let it go to voicemail. A man's voice said my name. He said it softly, like testing the sound. Then he said, "I can hear you breathing when you come up the stairs." I slept with the light on, put a night table in front of the door out of fear he would break in. I ordered a wedge for the door from a site that promises next-day delivery. I texted the group chat with some friends. No one answered until the morning after, but when they did, they were petrified. They told me to call the non-emergency number. I did. The officer I spoke to said to keep the voicemail, save everything, start a log with times and dates. He asked if I had an ex with a grudge. I said no. He asked if I'd recently posted my location anywhere. I said no. He said, make your socials private, turn off location services, and call back if he shows up in person. I could hear dispatchers in the background taking calls that sounded urgent. I understood where my problem ranked. On Monday, the DM account sent a photo of my door. He had unsent it after an hour, but I screenshotted it before he could have. This was like a game to him. He got off on making me look crazy. I called the non-emergency line again. I sounded much more sure of myself this time and asked for an officer to come speak to me in person. The officer said they could send a car to drive by, but without a threat, there wasn't much they could do. That night, the DM account sent a video. The camera was low, pressed to the door. Heavy breathing overpowered the recording, panting like a dog. I felt like he got off on this, like it was some sort of game that he loved being the predator in. The lighting in the video showed a lot of natural sunlight. I was grateful that I had noticed that, so at least I know that he isn't currently outside my door. I still called 911. 2 officers came, one older and one young enough to look nervous. They stood in my kitchen while I showed them the video. The young one crouched and inspected the foot of my door. The older one told me to get a deadbolt. He said, "If he comes back, call us while he's here." He gave me a brochure about harassment and stalking and another about self-defense. It had some outdated clip art on it. I appreciated it, but it felt like it was just a Band-Aid fix, with the real problem festering. That week, I learned about the areas of my city that had hardware stores and key-cutting kiosks. I learned how to install a deadbolt through a YouTube video that I paused so many times my laptop screen timed out. I learned that people in the building talk if you ask. The woman in 3E said she had seen a man in a navy cap hanging around the mailboxes in the afternoon, pretending to scroll his phone. The couple on 2A said they heard someone going up and down the stairs late, slow, like counting. On Thursday, an email landed in my work inbox with the subject line, "Your order has shipped." It was for a 10-pound bag of rock salt and 3 bundles of white cable ties. It had my address. I hadn't ordered it. There was a gift note that said, "Stay safe." I called the company, and they told me the order had been placed with my full name and my correct apartment number. I put the log together the way the officer had suggested. Date, time, what happened, what action I took. It felt like homework. On Friday, I made a dumb choice. I went to the bakery because I didn't want my life to shrink anymore. I ordered the soup. Nothing happened. The man who paid for my soup the last time wasn't there. I took this opportunity to ask the cashier about it. The cashier said the guy who had paid was there earlier, that he sits by the window now and then. I walked home but didn't go upstairs. I sat in the lobby on the radiator and texted my friend Kayla to come over. While I was waiting, a package arrived in the building foyer. The label said my name and a return address I didn't recognize. The carrier left it on the floor by the mailboxes. It wasn't heavy. I wanted to leave it there and pretend I hadn't seen it. Instead, I took it upstairs, set it on my kitchen counter, and opened it with scissors like I was diffusing something. Inside, there was a roll of blue painter's tape and a single photograph. It was me on Tuesday night, walking from the rideshare to the door, head down, shoulders up against the cold. It was taken from a car window. Kayla came over, and we made a plan. I would stay at her place for the weekend. We would install a door sweep in the morning and a security camera that sends clips to your phone. Kayla insisted that we call the non-emergency line again and ask for the community officer. He called back that night and told me to email the videos and photos. He was kind. He apologized for how slow these cases move. He said, "People like this count on you getting tired." At 3 a.m, the camera sent a clip. A man in a navy cap walked up my stairs. He didn't look around. He crouched by my door and pressed his face to the gap like he was listening to the inside of a seashell. He put something flat against the bottom of the door and slid it back and forth. The clip was clear enough that you could see his distinguishing features. We called 911. The dispatcher stayed on the line while I forwarded the clip. The officers got there in 11 minutes. The hallway was empty. They went door to door. The couple in 2A said they'd heard someone run down the stairs a few minutes before the knock. In the morning, I found a strip of blue painter's tape stuck to my doormat, folded in half on itself. It made no sense. The only thing that made sense was if he tried using the painter's tape to catch hair and dust under the door. He had wanted to collect a trophy from inside of my apartment, something that would feel like I was on his side of the door even when I wasn't. The thought pinned me in place so hard, I had to sit down. The next week, the community officer called and said they had found him. He had been doing this to another woman as well, and was caught doing similar things to her. They managed to search through his socials and found the same account linked to his phone. Turns out he worked for the rideshare company I used to get home. I offered the officer my rideshare app, and he matched my ride history to the driver who had picked me up that Tuesday. His first name also matched the DM account. He had a previous warning on his file for contacting a rider through social media after a trip. The police then went to his place and asked him a few questions. He denied everything. He said he had never been near my building. He said he hadn't been to the bakery in months. They left without arresting him. The officer told me on the phone that sometimes denial was the whole plan. He said that they were building a case file against him and to keep saving everything and call should something else happen again. For a week, nothing did. I started to think maybe the attention had spooked him. I went to work, I answered emails, I remembered to buy detergent. The quiet felt like a trick. On a Wednesday, in the late evening, my phone buzzed with a clip from the hallway camera. He stepped into the frame like he knew where the lens was. Same navy cap, no rush. He looked straight at the camera and put something into my lock. He jostled the door back and forth so aggressively that I felt like he could have broken the door in if he tried. He kept trying to enter my place, and I saw his mouth form a small word I could not hear. Then he left, quick but not panicked. I called 911 while my hands shook. 2 officers came, not fast enough to catch him while he was still at my place. They watched the clip twice. One said, "This is enough." The other asked for the incident numbers from before. I sent the officer a text with the link to my drive that had all the files attached. The community officer called an hour later. He sounded relieved. They picked him up that night. What I learned after did not make me feel better. He had a note on his phone with my schedule written in short lines. Monday morning, gym 7. Trash night 8. Tuesday bakery maybe. A screenshot of my old public Instagram. A photo of my mailbox with my name. He admitted that he managed to get my email by looking up my name online, which was attached to an employer website. I was shocked at how effortless it is to find so much sensitive information with a few keystrokes. The court part was ordinary in a way that felt impersonal. He took a deal: misdemeanor harassment, a year of probation, no contact. A judge made him say the terms back to her like a pledge. He kept his head down. I brought my log to help me with my victim impact statement. I kept my sentences short so I would not cry. It worked until it didn't. I changed my locks again anyway. I added a door sweep and a second deadbolt. I moved in June. Same city, different bus line. The mailboxes only show unit numbers. I kept my old number for a month on a cheap phone and checked it often. Nothing came through. On a Friday, I turned it off and put it in a drawer. I went to the bakery the next morning and sat by the window with a bowl of soup. I watched the door, but not like before. People came and went. No one lifted a cup toward me. The cashier asked how my day was, and I said good. It felt right. Sometimes I still get small spikes of fear in random places, like when people drag their feet on the stairs and it sounds like it is stopping at my door. It passes. The rideshare company sent me a message months later, a standard apology and a coupon that I did not use. I use a different app now. I sit in the back and let the silence stay silence. I do not fill it to be polite.